say a few words, James.
Yeah, you're welcome. Dobry wieczór, Holy Reverend Fathers, Church Affairs, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to be able to be with all of you again tonight to honor the memories of those who suffered and those who perished in one of the worst genocides that the world has ever witnessed. And we need to always remember those victims and remember the horror that was poured out upon Ukraine in 1932 and 33. You know, we have some children with us today that Yaroslav has brought his daughters. You think about that, those were the first victims of the Holodomor. You know, they're the ones that couldn't handle not having their food, despite loving parents that want to provide them with their daily meals. And that ability was taken away from them because of a ruthless regime. And Joseph Stalin and his communist thugs, and with his sympathizers with the NKVD, invaded homes of Ukrainian nationalists, not for collectivization, not to force their ideology upon them, but they wanted to extinguish the Ukrainian nationalist dream. They wanted to extinguish that flame of making sure those people would not rise up to form their own nation. Essentially, it was the Russianification of Ukraine that started it. You know, so they took all the political leadership, the clergy, the academia, anyone that was involved in the cultural community. And for those that resisted, they just dragged them out into the streets and shot. For those that were a little more complacent but needed to be punished, they sent them off to the gulags, where the average lifespan was only about 3 years, or doing hard labor in Siberia. But the rest were actually left to a much more horrific fate, in my opinion. Watching their families, their friends, their neighbors starve to death slowly. And it all started 79 years ago this year. Let's not forget the horrific experiences they went through, seeing their cupboards stripped bare, their crops often thrown away, often taken off to fund the industrial machine in Russia, in modern-day Russia, but in the Soviet Union. All their livestock were taken and killed and slaughtered, but not one kernel of grain, not one piece of meat was left for them to fend for themselves through the upcoming hard winter. All the records have proven that there was an abundance of food back in 1932. They had a great crop, but every bit of that production was taken out of the region so that they could starve to death. You know, you put it into a modern day context, and I've used this simile many times, but it's like taking the number of people that were in Ukraine at that time is the population of Canada today. And the number of people that starved to death and were shot and were sent off to the gulag, never to be heard again in Ukraine, is equivalent to the size of the population of Western Canada. That means that every man, woman, and child starved to death over a 15-month period and would wiped out what would be today in modern-day Canada, all of the 4 Western provinces. I'm glad that we have a Holodomor survivor with us tonight to share her experience. We have to remember how bad it was. We don't want to see these atrocities and genocides ever occur again. And this is our opportunity to capture those stories, make sure that they're shared, not just amongst us as people who are proud of our Ukrainian heritage, but with all Canadians and with the entire world, so that we all understand the horrific consequences that occur because of one person, in this case Joseph Stalin's, political ambitions and his hatred for ethnic Ukrainians. Вічна пам'ять.
Thank you, James, and as you can see, we had a very worthy parliamentarian lead the effort to recognize the Holodomor genocide. I would like to call on the member for Etobicoke